Well, what I'd like to tell you on this program is that we don't settle for anything less than 5 stars.
Buddhist people respectfully lay small dishes of food in front of their Buddha image.
Like the moon, shining.
Such is karma. So it would be best that you kill the ignorance in your life to understand the nature of being.
Bend your body all the way down, and free from.
Sawadee, we meet again on this week's edition of Meditation for All. As I said last week, we're now past the midway point of our self-development education through meditation. But there's still a lot to be learned, which is why we'll now turn our attention to Reverend Nicholas Thanisaro, who will give us more insight on the subject. But before we do that, I would like you to keep in mind that every development starts from self-development, and meditation could very well be the best way to do that.
Welcome back to our mini-series on meditation and self-development. Last week we already looked at some of the decision-making strategies that can better enable us to make the sort of decisions that will not upset the quality of our mind when we come to meditate. This week we go a little bit further to go on to look at the way in which we treat other people, also to find out how we can treat people in a way that is compatible with our meditation progress. Sometimes we wonder where all the energy goes which helps us to meditate better. But sometimes it's because of the way we treat people, if we are inconsiderate towards them, or if we don't take their feelings into account, that causes the energy in our meditation to ebb away to the point that we have no richness of mind left to allow us to go on further in our meditation. In fact, there are 4 particular needs which everyone in the world has, something which they are always lacking, which if we can do something to fill in these gaps in their lives, we can always build up a friendship with those people, but not only for their benefit, but also leaving ourselves with a feeling of richness of mind, which will help us a lot when we come to meditate. What are these things which other people are lacking? Well, at base it's resources, it's encouragement, it's a helping hand, and it's also a feeling of security. If we can help to fill in some of these gaps in people's lives by being generous to them, by giving them encouragement, by giving them a helping hand, or helping them out with manpower resources, or else by behaving in a way which allows them to feel that we are consistent and not threatening their security, then in fact we are adding to those people's opinion of us. Also, we are helping to add richness to our own mind. These are 4 particular qualities which, in the culture of meditation, we refer to as the 4 bases of sympathy, or Sanghawatu in the Buddhist terminology. These are qualities which you can find referred to even in management literature. For fans of Stephen Covey, then you will remember these 4 qualities as what's called the emotional bank account. Well, we have only limited time as normal on our program, and what I'd like to look at in particular detail today, leaving aside the aspects of generosity and consistency, is the factors concerning what it really means to give encouragement to other people. Because we often find that by saying too much or by saying the wrong things, we can find that a lot of the energy from our meditation ebbs away via our mouth by the things that we say. So today we're going to be talking about what we call 5-star speech, which means speech which has certain qualities which, if they don't add up to 5, then it's not going to be good enough for us to say at all. We'd be better keeping those words to ourselves. Speech can be looked at in many different ways. There are many different factors which affect the quality of speech. Why? Because speech is so varied. We're not like animals which can only bark or growl but we have so much choice about what we say and how we say it. If you're looking at speech in general, you can talk about the quality of speech in terms of the intention behind the words. You can talk about speech in terms of the words chosen to express them, whether they are true or untrue, polite or rude, whether what we say is useful or superfluous. And also you can look at the occasion which we choose to say the words themselves. Sometimes the right thing said at the wrong time can add up to disaster as well. So what exactly do we mean by 5-star speech? Is it the same as a 5-star hotel where you can save a little and spend a night in a 3-star hotel or a 1-star hotel and we can still get a night's sleep anyway? Well, what I'd like to tell you on this program is that we don't settle for anything less than 5 stars. Why? Because, not that we are attached to luxuries of course, but because anything less than 5 stars is not worth saying at all. Most people say too much, and many people find that they are saying just the things which the other person wants to hear without considering whether the words they are saying are actually transforming that person for the better at all. But if we follow our principle of the 5 stars, then we will find that the things we say are going to be really worthwhile, and they're going to be things which are going to be transforming the listener's life for the better, while at the same time preserving and boosting the energy which we have for our meditation. Well, the first star which we need for our meditation is that everything which we say must be said on the basis of compassion. If we find that we are angry, or we find that we have a bad intention towards the person, often we will find, even without intending it, that the things which we say come out all wrong, or they may be things which only add to the suffering of that person. Usually, if you find that you're angry, or if you feel that the anger is starting to boil up inside you, you'd be better to keep your mouth shut. Worse still is a person who is angry and they don't say things, but they write down threatening notes at a time when they are angry. This can be only worse because it leaves behind evidence of how angry and how stupid you've been. Usually the things which you say when you're angry, a few moments later when you've recovered from your anger, you will be regretting that you've said them at all. So it's better to keep your mouth shut when you are angry and make sure that you have a compassionate intention towards the person before you say anything at all. This is the first star. The second star for our speech is that everything we say ought to be true. This doesn't mean that we say everything that comes into our head, but it means that we should reserve the things which are true and useful to say to other people. Often we hear in the Western world about white lies, by saying things to make people feel better, thinking that that's going to be something positive. But in the end, it only degrades the quality of our speech and the quality of our intentions as a whole. Sometimes to cheer up children we say, "Oh, here comes the most precious little boy in the world." But this can hardly be called artful speech. Rather, it would be better to give sincere appreciation or sincere praise of something which is really good about the children, and that will work for the children at a much deeper level. So even white lies we count amongst inappropriate speech, and something should really be true for us to bother saying it at all. Thirdly, everything which we say has to be polite. Usually you can choose the words which you use to phrase any particular message. For example, you can tell a person not to be lazy, or you can tell them to get off their backside. For myself personally, I would choose the former way of saying these things because it doesn't leave the person who hears it with a feeling of negativity towards us. Really, the sort of vocabulary which they use in the marketplace is not suitable for us as self-developers. And really, a self-developer ought to be a person who is always choosing the most polite and the most reasonable ways of expressing the things which they want to say to others. A fourth star for our speech is that everything we say ought to be useful. By useful we mean that it should be something which the person is learning anew, not something which they've heard before, which they're going to be bored by when they hear from us. Sometimes things can be true, things can be polite, and things can be said out of an intention of compassion. However, they may not actually be very useful for the person to hear if they've already heard it already. Sometimes, supposing everyone in the town knows that a particular person is very corrupt, If you go about saying that this person is corrupt when everyone already knows it, doesn't actually help to make the situation any better. It just makes people bored and negative as a result of the situation. So sometimes if we know that a person already knows something, it's better not to bore them with it. That will help to make sure that every time we open our mouth, it's only the positive and only the useful things which come out of it. Because it's no benefit just to add on to the things which people already know and maybe they already hate about situations which cannot be changed. Last but not least, we ought to say things at the appropriate time and on the appropriate occasion. Sometimes we can have speech which adds up to all of the 4 stars already mentioned. Maybe something which is true, and maybe something which is compassionate, maybe something which is polite, maybe something which is useful. For example, there was a lady who felt very worried about her husband's condition, that he was drinking too heavily. So she thought to herself that she was going to prepare the most polite way possible to pass on the criticism to her husband that maybe he should be drinking a little less. So what did she do? Well, she knew that saying that he was a heavy drinker was true. She knew that it was compassionate to inform him about this. She knew it was useful to be said. She also was going to choose the politest way of expressing her criticism. So what did she do? She went down to the local pub. Her husband was sitting in front of all his friends, and he was with a bottle of beer in his hand. And she said, "Oh, my dear husband, I'd like to inform you that I think that you are drinking a little bit too heavily." What do you think happened as a result of that? Well, maybe if she got off lightly, she wouldn't have the beer bottle broken over her head. This would be something to say that she did have all 4 of the first 4 of the stars of 5-star speech, but she did forget about the occasion on which it should be said. Really criticizing anyone in front of other people is always a no-no in terms of the things which we say. And this is just to say that we cannot underestimate the importance of having all 5 stars if we are to say something. Especially on the subject of criticism, it can be said that there are 2 extra considerations which we ought to bring into play. And this is because no one likes to hear criticism, especially if it's about themselves. Most people like to hide away their faults and hear only their praises. And in fact, we can build on this if we have the occasion to have to criticize other people. This is that if we have to criticize someone on a particular point, then first of all we have to find out something to praise them for first. It shouldn't just be artificial praise, it should be something which we actually appreciate about the person. It should be sincere praise. And we should praise them first before we come around to criticizing them. For example, if we find that a person is usually diligent in their work, but they do make a lot of mistakes when they're working, we might say, "Hey, do you know that you are one of my best workers? But there's just something very small which I'd like to point out to you, that perhaps you need to take a little bit more care not to make so many mistakes in your work." This sounds much better to the person than simply coming out with saying, "Why are you making so many mistakes in your work?" To praise them first will elevate their state of mind so that it's more receptive when it comes to hearing the criticism about themselves. Secondly, when you have to criticize people, something which you have to be very careful of is that you have a smile on your face at the time when you're criticizing them. This is to show the intention of compassion behind the things which you're saying to them. Because if the person thinks that you are picking on them, or they think that you're just trying to find fault with them, then of course they're going to close up their heart and they're not going to want to hear about that criticism from you, even though it may be true. So praising them before you criticize them, and also smiling when you give criticism, these are 2 additional points which you can add on to the 5 stars which we talked about just now when it comes to points of criticism. And another thing to remember is that a person can only take so much criticism. Supposing you have 10 faults with a particular person, you don't need to download all 10 faults onto them on the same day. Maybe you can give their faults to them in installments, maybe 2 a day at the most, to help to keep up that person's morale so that they still will want to overcome the difficulties which they have to try to rectify all the points of weakness which they come across. So you can see that even the factor of speech is something which is very sensitive. When we are speaking to people, we should settle for nothing less than 5-star speech. That is, speech which is on an intention of compassion, speech which is true, speech which is polite, speech which is useful, and speech which is said at the right time. If you can manage this with everything which you say, then you will make sure that you manage to maintain the energy which you better keep for your meditation practice. If something which you are considering to say doesn't add up to 5, then it's better to keep it to yourself. No one will ever blame you for saying less than you need to. So, today we've talked a lot about what we call the 4 bases of sympathy, and we've spent particular emphasis on the subject of saying the right thing at the right time. Maybe this week you should look at some of the ways in which you speak to others to see whether your own speech measures up to the 5 qualities which we've already mentioned. If not, then you should try to adapt your speech in the appropriate way, and you find yourself with a more positive heart, a more richness of mind to take with you into your meditation. This is not all on the decisions which you have to make. There are some specialized decisions which also we need special principles to deal with when we come to making decisions about them. Next week we're going to be going on to another more specialized topic of the spiritual realm of decision making, which are going to use the principle which is known as the Noble Eightfold Path to help us with our decision making. So until next week, please try to keep up your meditation, be observant about the way you speak, and I'll be seeing you again at the same time next week.
Next, on Buddhist culture, you'll be introduced to a type of almsgiving called Thawai Khao Praput. It is the way that Buddhists pay their respect to the Lord Buddha by placing small dishes of food in front of the Buddha statues in their households.
In some places, there are no monks. Unable to make merit through almsgiving, Buddhist people respectfully lay small dishes of food in front of their Buddha image, as if the image was the Lord Buddha himself. Buddhist people call this sacred culture devotion to the Lord Buddha, or Thawai Khao Praput. houses are very remote, while some are in business areas, and others are nestled high in the sky. It's impossible for such houses to have a monk at the door when the sun gives rise to a new day. Thus, only the Buddha image on their altar brings hope that today will be better than yesterday to these Buddhists who respectfully give donations through his image. The first spoon of rice taken out from the rice pot will be placed in small dishes, together with other alms food that were cooked either the evening before or early that morning. All food and desserts will then be set in a tray. It is believed that the food should be placed on the altar for as long as the incense sticks are burning. After placing the food, the person will light 3 incense sticks, symbolizing the triple gem, and pray or focus their mind on the Lord Buddha, as if the donor was offering the alms food to him himself. With this focused mind, there is a communion created between the donor and the Lord Buddha. After the incense sticks burn out, the donor or someone else formally removes the food by saying, Se sang mangkalang ya jama.
I hope you enjoyed this week's Buddhist culture. Now it is time for a meditation session with Reverend Somsak Piyasiro. During this session, soft music will be played while you're meditating because, believe it or not, the atmosphere can be helpful in setting your mind and mood ready for meditation.
The full moon of Visakha Bhusha, or internationally known as Vesak Day, is the beginning of Buddhism. Lord Buddha discovered the inner light on this day. It was almost 2,600 years ago. This is the origin of Buddhism, and inner light that Lord Buddha discovered, he now gave as a treasure to the world. Remember the golden full moon night of Vesak day? The dark night is not dark anymore. It is bathed and dyed by the glory of the golden light of the full moon. Not only Buddhists but all peace lovers worldwide enjoy the emergence of the inner light. Inner light is accessed by the process of enlightenment, but it's not that difficult to gain inner light. It could be done by meditation. Now it's about time to meditate again. This is session 6 of part 2 of meditation for all. Let me welcome you, even the new students, to this class. Are you new to meditation? If you are new, just follow me. A little brief introduction. Choose the best corner in your home. Find the right place to sit. Maybe on the chair, maybe on the floor if you like, with or without the support of the pillows. You may sit on the cushion or on the meditation mat like I'm sitting now. Whatever you feel best, but feel at ease to meditate. It is not difficult. You may drink a glass of warm water or fruit juice to freshen up a little bit. And then let's meditate together. First, we gently close the eyes. Close the eyes so softly. Allow the muscles around the eyes to get relaxed. Let go all the tensions in all parts of the body. Clear away all the tensions of the body, and then empty all the worries of the mind. Take a good soft breath to freshen up the entire organism. Breathe in deep and gentle, softly. Feel the turning point of the breath that lies in the center, in the middle of the abdomen. Let's prove or touch the turning point together again. See the turning point pass down the lungs to the center of the stomach. This is the point where we may call the station of peace. Every time the mind focuses at this station, the mind always gains peace. You might say, now we are peacefully, still, and motionless in this station, this center point. Just stay peaceful and still. Remind ourselves of the glory of the Vesak full moon night. Remind ourselves of the inner light attained by Prince Siddhartha. After enlightenment, he became Lord Buddha. The inner light is in the form of the mind, and Lord Buddha refers the shape of the mind in its sphere form. May we use the crystal ball in place of the sphere of the mind. Welcome the image of the crystal ball to stand, to float, to stay still in the middle of the body. Welcome with warm heart the form of the crystal ball. Also remind the full moon in the mind. So the moon and the mind are now blending together. The moon is now in the mind, shining her sweet golden light inside the mind. The crystal ball contains the full moon, who is shining her golden sweet light, the light of peace, the light of serenity and tranquility. The moon in the mind has become the bright moon inside the mind. The mind turns bright as the moon. The moon becomes the mind. The mind becomes the moon, shining gloriously, giving us a better tranquility ever. Enjoy the merge of the moon and the mind with golden light. Enjoy this for a little while in peace. Lord Buddha mentioned that the nature of the mind is shining, is bright, and it has its own light. So originally, the mind is shining always. But we don't see its light because it is behind the darkness of our great hatred and ignorance. Once we meditate, all these negative qualities will fade away, revealing the true nature of the mind. The mind is now gaining back her original quality, like the moon shining her silvery light down to us. The entire body is now glorified by her golden light. Every molecule of life is brightened, glorified everywhere, from the station of peace, from the bright moon, bright mind, inside our body. Enjoy this, which is not easy to happen. This will happen only in meditation, where the mind is situated or the mind focuses on the right point, the station of peace, revealing the true nature of the mind. Enjoy this together for a little while. Remind ourselves of the light of peace, inner light of peace. We may keep this peace to ourselves, nobody cares. But as Lord Buddha, he did not keep this happiness to himself. He shared all inner light to the world. So we should expand, share this inner light to everyone as well. Nobody cares, but we care. We start to share our bright light inside the body. We radiate now. Expand the inner light of peace to the outside surroundings. Mass volume of bright light is expanding endlessly everywhere, originating from our center, the center point, in the center of the abdomen. Now we are sharing. Sharing is great to mankind. Sharing bright light everywhere to all human beings and other beings. Every being is traveling in the samsara, in the darkness of the cycle of rebirth. Bright light, inner light, will show them the way to get away from the samsara. Do as our Lord Buddha does, sharing inner light to the world. Remember the tiniest spot in the center of the body, the origin of inner light. This is the landmark in our future meditation. It is the landmark so outstanding, so we can come back here at any time. It is the landmark. It is clear, noticeable, easy to notice. Come back at any time. remember this landmark of the mind and to come back to this point anytime the mind seeks inner peace. It's about time to open up. We may count down from 3 to 0 and slowly open the eyes. How do you enjoy meditation with your own inner bright light? This is happening to everyone who allow the mind to touch the inner light. When we come out, we are also bright, and the life will be even more peaceful and easy to go on. Hope to see you again. When you practice meditation, you come back next time, you will do it even better. Until we meet, Sawadee. Have a good time.
Up next, you will hear from Mr. Richard S. Pacito, who has a Christian background. He'll be sharing a story of his life and how he became interested in the Buddhist way of meditation.
Hi, my name is Richard S. Pacito. I'd like to share with you a little bit about my background, how I've come to find myself in Thailand, how I came to ordain as a Buddhist monk. I've also been a licensed ordained Christian minister since 1971. Many people have expressed interest in my background because it's unusual to say the least. I'm an Italian American born in New York City, and I find myself here on the other side of the world, in a different culture, in a different mindset, but very much at peace and very much satisfied with my life at this point. In 1967, during the Vietnam War, I served in the United States Air Force. I was sent and stationed in Ubon Ratchathani, on the Laotian border during the height of the war. During that time, I had many interesting experiences. I worked as a medic, attending the wounded on medevac ships that were flown out of Vietnam with many grievously injured soldiers. Through a set of very sad and tragic circumstances, a friend of mine, a very dear friend, like a brother, was killed in a battle in Vietnam. Now, the circumstances involving that incident were very tragic for a number of reasons. He took my place on that patrol. We could do that in those days. If one person wanted to take your place, it was quite all right to do it, just as long as someone was there for you. My friend Ben insisted on doing that. I had just been out for 23 days in the field, and he insisted on doing it. That night, he went on a river patrol and was killed. I never forgave myself for that. As a matter of fact, I became deeply depressed and very sad about it because I felt I was guilty about it. I was guilty for this young man dying in my place. One afternoon, a group of friends of mine, soldiers, decided to go downtown to visit a temple. As was the custom of the soldiers, they would bring cameras to take pictures and then go on their way. I accompanied them that afternoon. When I went into the temple, that temple in Ubon in 1967, something very strange happened to me. I felt a sense of genuine peace, a sense of belonging, a sense that I had been there before. My friends took the photos they wanted to and left. And on their way out of the temple, they said, "Come on, Richard, let's go downtown." Something compelled me to stay. I told them to go on, that I just wanted to remain there. I sat in the rear of the temple. And as I sat quietly, being very still and very sad, still grieving over the loss of my best friend, still feeling guilty, a group of monks came into the temple to chant. As I was sitting in the rear, the older monk, who I later discovered was the abbot, looked in my direction, and he sent a young monk who was, I believe he was just graduated from Thammasat University, and he could speak English. The older abbot was telling him something. The young monk got up and came to the rear of the temple and came directly to me, and he began to speak to me. And this is what he said. He said, the abbot knows your heart. He knows that you are grieving. He knows that you're very sad about the death of your friend. I was flabbergasted. I was shocked. No one had ever seen me there before. I certainly had not seen anyone in this temple before. It was my first time visiting there. Yet this young man told me the situation, the condition, the state I was in. And he went on to tell me that the abbot gave him a message for me, that I shouldn't feel guilty, and that I should examine my heart, because my heart was now filled with anger, and I wanted to go out and fight the enemy. And the message he gave to me was, it would be better if you killed the ignorance that you have than kill another human being. I was very shocked at this message. Kill the ignorance. So I asked the young monk, what does he mean by that? How can he know these things? And there began to unfold a great adventure in my life. I began to learn about the law of karma. The message to me that afternoon, that fateful afternoon in 1967 from the abbot, was that I could have not stopped the sun from rising in the morning. I could never stop the sun from coming up in the morning, could I? He asked me that, the young man. I said, no, no one can stop the sun from rising. And he said, well, so is it with your friend. He was destined to die on that day, on that hour, regardless of whether he took your place or not. Such is karma. So it would be best that you kill the ignorance in your life to understand the nature of being before you go on and commit grievous acts. I was taken aback by that, and I was deeply affected. From that moment on, I wanted to understand about Buddhism. I wanted to understand about Dhamma, because those words to me changed my life. They made sense. And as I went on to study for 1 year at this temple, I learned that the abbot's name was Lumpur Ajahn Chah. I had no idea that he was a well-known teacher. I had no idea even the name of the temple when I was there. But for 1 year I learned about Dhamma, and I learned about the doctrines of Dhamma. I learned about the concept of karma. I learned about the concept of rebirth, and it made supreme sense to me. All of a sudden, the weight that I had in my heart was lifted. I didn't know why. I'd spoken to other people about it. I'd spoken to my friends about it. I'd even spoken to Christian chaplains about it on base. No one could give me any words to console me, but yet the words of the abbot that day convinced me there was truth to this. No one can escape their karma.
In order to get you physically ready for meditation, you should now join the Body and Mind Solution exercise with Kun Vishuddha Satharanan and Dr. Wishit Kittipong Goson. Make yourself move and enjoy.
สวัสดีค่ะ Welcome to Life Rejuvenation Program designed by คุณเกษมสุขพมรสถิต And today Dr. Wishit Kittipong Goson will present it to us with his assistance น้องต้มค่ะ The solution will help us to earn life with happiness and to open the gateway of the real success, because it is undeniable that you have to get and gain the stress in every routine life. So to do it regularly, it will leave no sign of that stress. Let's go to see it. This posture is called bending body.
Hello, today Nong Tom will show you how to release tension on the lower back and also to relax your mind at the same time by focusing at the center of the body, by starting with abdominal breathing. Put your hand on your abdomen, take a deep breath in and slowly out. Take a deep breath in again, follow your breath to the center of your body. The turning point of your breath is the center of your movement, and also will be the point where you are going to fold your body. to bend your body. And then put your hand to your side. Now lift your arms up with your breath in. Take a deep breath in and breathe out. Again, lift your arms all the way up. Breathe in and breathe out. Now we are going to back stretch. Breathe in, back stretch, and then breathe out. Bend your body all the way down, all the way down, and free falling your arms and your head, okay, until you feel stretching on your back, lower back, your hips, your side, all the way to your ankles. And then slowly lift your trunk up, 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 relax. Take a deep breath in and breathe out. Put your hand on your abdomen and take a deep breath in and slowly out. One more time. Take a deep breath in and slowly out. Put your hand to your side and close your eyes. Focus at the center of your body or your turning point of your breath, and feel the circulation on your body and the relaxation on your mind.
You have tried it? It is really nice? I think so. The benefit of bending the body is to prevent yourself from baggage, from migraine, and also from low blood pressure. And it will adjust the system of the whole body. Let's enjoy it by yourself. See you next time. สวัสดีค่ะ
I am sorry that our time is running out and we're at the end of our program. If you have any questions or comments regarding today's program, please don't hesitate to write us via email at meditationforall@hotmail.com. I hope to see you again next week. Goodbye for now. สวัสดีค่ะ